In love, few things are as fragile as human emotions. We may be radiantly happy, yet just one small detail, a missed message, a thoughtless remark, or a cold glance is enough to make our hearts sink. The joy of a moment ago suddenly turns into anxiety, suspicion, or even anger, and then the whole day is colored by those reactions. What is notable is that most of the suffering in love does not arise from grand events, but from the way we react to the very small things. An impulsive reproach, a bout of uncontrolled sulking, can sometimes destroy trust more than any other difficulty. Love, meant to be a place where we seek peace, becomes the most vulnerable place simply because we do not know how to master ourselves. So, the question is, why are our emotions so easily manipulated? Have we unwittingly handed the control of our happiness to others so that with just an indifferent gesture or an offhand word, they can determine the joy and sorrow in our hearts? If we keep living in reaction, do we still have freedom in love, or have we already become prisoners of our own emotions? Stoic philosophy, born more than 2,000 years ago, offers a sharp perspective. The Stoics held that it is not external events that decide our happiness or suffering, but the way we choose to respond to them. So it is in love. It is not indifference, thoughtlessness, or stretches of silence that break us, but hot-headed reactions, negative interpretations, and lack of self-control that make us hurt ourselves. Not reacting in love does not mean indifference or avoidance. On the contrary, it is the highest expression of maturity. It is the ability to create a small pause to observe, to understand, and then to choose a wise course of action. That pause can salvage a heated conversation, protect a relationship from cracks, and help love go further through trust rather than quarrels. Imagine this: your partner forgets an important anniversary. Many people's first reaction would be anger, reproach, or even doubting the other's feelings. But there is another choice, the choice of calm. Take a deep breath. Watch the wave of emotion within. Then choose to speak frankly and share your wishes. One path leads to conflict, the other opens understanding. And all that differs is the brief pause before we react. In today's world, where messages, social media, and pressures are ever present, the art of non-reaction becomes an indispensable skill in love. It does not make love grow cold, it makes it more enduring. It does not turn us into the indifferent, it makes us people who love with clear-sightedness. And from here, the journey begins. To explore why love so easily makes us lose control, and how to learn the power of non-reaction so that we can love more freely and peacefully. Chapter 1. Why does love so easily make us lose control? Love is one of the most beautiful experiences in life, yet at the same time, it is where emotions become the most fragile and easily broken. At work or in social relationships, we may remain rational, able to control ourselves, but when facing the one we love, all that clarity seems to vanish. Just one small detail, a look or a word, can stir the heart, bringing worry or anger. Picture a familiar situation. You and your partner have a dinner date. All morning, you wait with excitement. But in the afternoon, they sent a message saying something urgent has come up, and they cannot make it. Reason understands this is normal, anyone can suddenly be busy. Yet the heart cannot stop raising negative thoughts. Maybe they don't care about me anymore. Is work more important than love? or is there someone else? Within minutes, the joy of the whole day collapses. Clearly, the pain does not lie in the postponed date, but in how we react to it. One major reason love so often makes us lose control is emotional attachment. In love, we tend to blur the boundary between ourselves and the other. We consider our partner's happiness as our own, and their sorrow becomes a burden we can hardly bear. This merging, if taken too far, easily turns into dependence. Then, even the smallest shift in their attitude causes our mood to swing wildly. Alongside attachment is the factor of expectation. In love, we nurture many hopes. We want our partner to always remember special days, always text at the right time, always listen, and always put us first. But in reality, no one can fulfill all these expectations. Just one broken promise, one late reply, or one moment of carelessness and expectations shatter, emotions erupt. The Stoics reminded us, the greater the expectation, the greater the hurt. Happiness should not depend entirely on another's actions, but should arise from our ability to adjust our own perspective. The ego is another reason why love often turns into a battlefield. Everyone wants to be acknowledged and appreciated. When the one we love does not respond as we hope, the ego immediately feels threatened. So we flare up, we reproach, simply to protect that fragile pride. Many arguments in love do not start from serious problems, but from the clash of two egos. One person insists on being right, the other refuses to yield. In the end, both are exhausted. While love itself was never the culprit, a deeper factor still is insecurity and the fear of loss. When we love, we always fear that the other will change, leave, or love someone else. This fear makes us overreact to the smallest signs. A missed call, a delayed reply, or a passing smile at another person, any of these can ignite jealousy. And the more insecure we are, the more impulsive our actions become. Ironically, such impulsiveness sometimes pushes love closer to the very brink of breakup, the outcome we feared most. The modern environment also complicates love. Social media and smartphones keep us constantly connected, but they also make us more sensitive. A vague status, a newly posted photo, or just a scene without reply can be enough to make the heart ache. Every small signal becomes fuel for a chain of negative thoughts. Without self-control, we easily turn ourselves into prisoners of notifications and message threads. All these factors, excessive attachment, high expectations, fragile egos, fear of loss, and the impact of modern society, make love the place where people most easily lose control. It touches the deepest vulnerabilities of our souls, and for that very reason, love is also the perfect environment to practice self-mastery. If we can learn the art of not reacting impulsively, we not only protect our relationships but also nurture our own growth. Love makes us prone to losing control, but at the same time, it offers us the opportunity to learn self-mastery. When we learn to pause, to observe, instead of rushing to react, we turn love into a school of peace, where we not only love another person, but also learn to love ourselves more maturely. Chapter 2. Understanding non-reaction in love. When people hear the phrase non-reaction, many often mistake it for indifference, coldness, or worse, the suppression of feelings to the point of turning into stone. They think that if they don't react, their partner will assume they no longer care, that they no longer love. But in reality, non-reaction in the Stoic spirit is not the same as apathy. It is not about turning away coldly, nor is it about silently enduring. Non-reaction is the art of mastering oneself so that fleeting impulses do not turn into a fire that burns love down. In love, sometimes we choose silence because we don't want to complicate things further. But silence in bitterness, in resentment, is entirely different from Stoic calmness. One is repression, bottling up emotions that later accumulate into hidden cracks. The other is the conscious creation of a pause, to observe emotions, allow them to settle, and then express them with measured words. The Stoics never encouraged avoidance or pretending to be strong. They only emphasized the importance of choosing the right time and the right way to respond. Sometimes just waiting a few more minutes changes your thoughts. Just changing the way you phrase something can lead to a more positive outcome. Thus, non-reaction is tied to a crucial skill: knowing how to pause. Between stimulus and response, there always exists a pause. Within that pause, we have the power to choose. In love, this pause is immensely precious, for every word and every action carries weight far greater than in any other area of life. Imagine your partner blurting out a reproach in a moment of anger. If you immediately reply in kind, the conversation could escalate into a quarrel. But if you take a deep breath, give yourself just a few seconds, emotions will begin to cool. When you do respond, you can choose to listen and ask, rather than fire back with another arrow. That pause may be small, but it can decide whether the relationship moves toward healing or toward fracture. The most important aspect of non-reaction is maintaining the position of agency. We do not deny our emotions, for to love is to feel, to be moved, to care. But we do not allow fleeting emotions to dictate our entire behavior. In other words, we still love wholeheartedly, but without becoming slaves to jealousy, anger, or disappointment. The Stoics often likened emotions to clouds drifting across the sky. At times they are thick, at times they are light, but all are only temporary. Our task is not to chase them away or cling to them, but simply to observe, recognizing their impermanence. Once we understand their transient nature, we will no longer be quick to act upon them. In love, many mistakenly believe that reacting quickly and strongly proves care. But in truth, impulsive reactions often inflict more wounds than they heal. Those who know calmness, who know restraint, are the ones who truly safeguard love. They are not cold. On the contrary, they understand that the value of the relationship is greater than momentary pride. When we refrain from hasty reaction, we are giving love a chance to mature, to be built on understanding and patience. Take a very ordinary example. You see your partner speaking warmly with someone else. The instinctive reaction may be jealousy, reproach, or even harsh interrogation. But if you pause, feel clearly the insecurity inside you, and then choose to share calmly, "I felt a little uneasy. Could you give me more reassurance?" Then, instead of creating distance, you are building trust. That is non-reaction, not letting the wave sweep you away, but using it as an opportunity to understand each other more deeply. Non-reaction does not mean turning yourself into a rock. nor does it mean reducing love to prolonged silence. It is a conscious choice, knowing when to be silent and when to speak, ensuring that words do not spring from anger, but from the desire to build. One heated reaction can erase trust built over years, but one calm response, even in the hardest moment, can become the foundation for a lasting connection. Therefore, non-reaction in love is not a barrier, but a bridge. It helps us walk through emotional storms without losing one another. It gives us the chance to preserve love with maturity, instead of breaking it with fleeting anger. And above all, it returns to us the gift of freedom. The freedom not to let others or circumstances dictate our moods, but to choose for ourselves the way to protect love on the most enduring path. Chapter 3. The Stoic Perspective on Love and Emotions. Love has always been seen as the place where emotions erupt most intensely. It can lift us to heights of ecstasy, but it can also drag us down to the depths of despair. For this reason, love becomes one of the greatest tests of self-mastery. In work or in social relationships, we may manage to stay rational, but in love, reason is often obscured by the storms of the heart. And this is where Stoic philosophy shines, not to extinguish emotions, but to guide us in loving with peace and resilience. The Stoics approached emotions with practicality. They did not deny their existence, nor did they regard them as enemies. They simply emphasized that emotions are temporary travelers. They come and go, shifting with circumstances, never as permanent as we think. If we cling to them, or let them dictate our actions, we become slaves. But if we observe their flow, understanding that they are fleeting, we learn how to stand firm amidst turbulence. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your judgment about it." In love, this is truer than ever. It is not a partner's delayed reply that angers us, but the thought, "they no longer care," that unsettles us. It is not a moment of carelessness that breaks our hearts, but the story we construct around it. What causes suffering is not the action itself, but the meaning we assign to it. Epictetus emphasized, "Whoever angers you, masters you." When we flare up over a partner's words, we are handing them control over our emotions. When jealousy keeps us awake at night over a glance they give someone else, we have made our happiness a hostage. The most frightening part is this: we voluntarily give away the key to our peace of mind. The Stoics remind us that emotions are ours, happiness is ours. Never surrender that power to anyone, not even to the one we love most deeply. Seneca called anger a momentary madness. He observed that in anger, people often say and do things they will regret for years to come. In love, how often this proves true. One impulsive reproach, one harsh word in a fit of rage, can become a wound that lingers for years. Seneca advised that if we can pause, restrain ourselves, and let anger pass, we will see that many things were never worth hurting the one we love. It is important to note that the Stoics never advocated denying loving emotions. They never suggested we should be cold or withdraw from love. On the contrary, they saw love as an essential part of life, an opportunity to practice self-discipline. But they reminded us that love cannot endure if it is driven solely by instinct and reactive emotions. It requires awareness, observation, and self-control. In practice, The value of this perspective is clear. Imagine a couple arguing because the husband forgot an anniversary. The wife, overcome by emotion, reproaches, "You don't love me anymore. You never care." The dialogue, fueled by emotion, turns into a battle. But if she pauses, breathes deeply, and recalls Marcus Aurelius's words, the pain is not from the event, but from how we view it. She might ask a different question. Does forgetting this truly mean he doesn't love me? Or was he simply too busy? In that moment, her feelings shift. The conversation changes direction, and love is preserved. Or another example, a young man sees his girlfriend laughing warmly with a male colleague. Instantly, jealousy flares. If he reacts, it may be harsh interrogation, perhaps blind control. But if he remembers Epictetus, "Whoever angers you, masters you," he realizes that his rage only proves he has surrendered his emotions to someone else. Instead of yielding that power, he can choose to talk gently, share his unease, and ask for reassurance. The result is not a broken bond, but a relationship strengthened by trust. The Stoic outlook, then, does not harden love. It matures it. It shows us that love is not absolute dependency, but the companionship of two self-possessed individuals. Each has emotions, but neither is ruled entirely by them. Each knows how to love, but also how to preserve a measure of inner peace. It is this balance that makes love enduring. By applying Stoic philosophy, we learn to cherish love in the present without being consumed by fear of the future. We learn to love with freedom, not as prisoners of jealousy or insecurity. We learn to respond with reason rather than act solely on impulse. And above all, we understand that love is not about losing ourselves, but about growing together, weathering emotional storms without losing one another. Thus, when seen through the Stoic lens, emotions are not enemies, but teachers. They teach us our limits, they train us in self-mastery, and they show us how to love without sacrificing peace. And through this, we can build a love founded not only on bursts of passion, but on the solid ground of maturity and understanding. Chapter 4. The benefits of non-reaction in love. In love, everyone longs for peace and connection. Yet in reality, it is also the place filled with the greatest turbulence. A delayed reply to a message, a forgotten anniversary, or a careless remark can sometimes be enough to stir up an emotional storm. So what keeps us from being swept away by such storms? The answer lies in the art of non-reaction. When we learn to pause, to observe, and to respond mindfully, love brings deeper benefits than we could imagine. The first benefit is inner peace. Love is not only made of sweet moments, but also countless small situations that can shake us. If we react immediately to every change in our partner's behavior, our heart becomes like a boat tossed in rough seas, constantly unsettled. But if we know how to hold back, to breathe, and to respond only after calming down, we realize that a late reply is not neglect, and a forgotten anniversary does not mean love has ended. This peace prevents us from turning small matters into great wounds, and when we are at peace, the relationship naturally becomes lighter too. Non-reaction also helps protect our mental energy. Anyone who has experienced an argument in love knows how draining it can be. Just one night of anger can leave both partners sleepless, exhausted, and stepping into the next day with heavy hearts. Repeated often, Love is easily depleted, and the spirit erodes. When we preserve pauses, we stop wasting energy on useless quarrels and keep it instead for love, for sharing, and for building happy moments. Another crucial benefit is the ability to make wise decisions. In anger, people often make hasty choices they later regret. A breakup uttered in rage, a rash act of jealousy, all can leave scars not easily erased. Not reacting immediately gives us the chance to reflect carefully. When emotions subside, we can see the situation from more perspectives. Instead of asking, "Why did they treat me so badly?" we might ask, "Could they be under pressure elsewhere?" This shift in questioning opens calmer solutions, helping preserve love instead of destroying it. Non-reaction is also a way to create safety in the relationship. Love lasts only when both partners feel heard, comforted, and understood. If one constantly fears that a single wrong word will trigger an explosion, the relationship will soon fracture. Conversely, when we show our partner that we can remain calm and listen, they feel safe enough to share more. That sense of safety is the soil that nurtures intimacy and connection. Another benefit not to be overlooked is maintaining dignity and respect. In love, respect is the foundation. Yet one impulsive reaction can erode it. A harsh word in anger, a jealous outburst out of control, these can change the way the other sees us. The Stoics believed that dignity is most clearly shown in our ability to master our emotions. Those who stay calm, who choose their words and actions wisely, retain respect not only from their partner, but from themselves. Finally, non-reaction helps love mature. An immature love easily flares up and breaks easily, because it relies on fleeting emotions. But mature love stands firm through storms. It does not deny emotions, yet it does not allow temporary feelings to destroy what has been built. When both partners practice restraint, love becomes a place that nurtures patience, understanding, and compassion. Arguments lessen, reproaches soften, and in their place arise calm conversations and warm handholds after misunderstandings. It is clear, then, that non-reaction in love brings far more benefits than we might expect. It preserves our peace, protects our energy, sharpens our judgment, creates safety, sustains dignity, and nurtures a mature love. All of this comes from the smallest pauses in daily life, the pause between impulse and action, and it is precisely these pauses that form the bridge carrying love through storms, turning it into a bond that is enduring, profound, and full of meaning. Chapter 5: Steps to cultivate non-reaction in love. No one is born knowing how to control emotions. We learn how to love, but we must also learn how to preserve love through inner maturity. Non-reaction is not an instinctive reflex, but a skill that must be trained daily through small, lived experiences. Just as muscles grow stronger only with consistent training, the ability to master emotions grows only through regular practice. To walk this path, there are 5 important steps each of us can apply in our relationships. The first step is to recognize emotions. Usually, when we feel hurt or jealous, emotions flare so quickly that we don't even realize what is happening. We react instantly with words or actions, only to regret them afterward. To change this, we must learn to pause and name the emotion. Simply telling ourselves, "I am angry, I am sad, I feel insecure," is like holding up a mirror to our inner world. Psychologists also point out that when people label their emotions, their intensity decreases significantly. In love, this helps us avoid being completely swept away by the wave and keeps a small measure of calm to observe. The next step is to create a golden pause. This pause may last only a few seconds, but its value is immense. It allows reason to step in, preventing us from acting on impulse. There are many ways to create such a pause. Taking a deep breath, slowly counting from 1 to 10, sipping water, or simply remaining silent. In a tense conversation, just a few seconds of silence can save the relationship. It signals to your partner that you are trying to control yourself, not escalate into conflict. And in that silence, we remember that words spoken in anger often leave long-lasting scars. Once we have created a pause, we move to the third step, asking ourselves questions. This is a form of self-dialogue, helping us look at the bigger picture. We can ask, is this worth losing my peace over? If I can react right now, what will happen? In love, not everything requires a reaction. A late reply may simply mean the person is busy, and a careless remark may just reflect fatigue. Through such questioning, we realize that many small things are not worth turning into storms. And by remembering the larger picture, we see that what matters is not winning an argument, but preserving a long-term connection. After that comes changing perspective, the fourth step, and one of the deepest Stoic lessons. Events themselves are less important than how we view them. Instead of seeing a partner's action as an insult, we might think they are overwhelmed with work, under family pressure, or simply unaware that their action hurt us. When we change perspective, emotions also shift. Anger can turn into empathy. Disappointment can become understanding. Instead of saying, "You never care about me," we might say, "I know you're busy, but I still hope for a little more attention." Such a shift in expression can transform a conversation from confrontation to collaboration. Finally, the fifth step, responding consciously. This does not mean prolonged silence or avoidance, but responding with awareness. Conscious response means choosing the right time, words, and behavior in line with our values and long-term intentions. Sometimes it means speaking calmly. Other times, writing down our feelings instead of arguing. At times, the best response is temporary silence, waiting until both are calm. At other times, it is a simple phrase, "I'm hurt by this, but I still love you and want us to resolve it together." This is a deliberate choice, not letting emotions take command. These 5 steps mean little if they remain only in theory. What matters is daily practice. We can start with small situations, not getting irritated when a partner arrives a few minutes late, not feeling jealous over a like on social media, not reproaching over a clumsy remark. Each time we overcome a small test, we forge another layer of armor within. Over time, this skill becomes natural. At that point, we no longer strain to stay calm. Calmness becomes part of who we are. Training non-reaction in love is a long journey, much like planting a tree. Today, we plant the seed by recognizing emotions. Tomorrow, we water it with pauses and questions. Gradually, we will see it grow, offering shade and peace to both partners. When we learn to pause, to ask, to shift perspective, and to respond consciously, we not only preserve love but also safeguard the serenity of our own souls. Chapter 6. Real-life examples and practical tools in love philosophy always comes alive when connected to everyday experiences. Non-reaction in love is no different. At first, it may sound abstract, but in truth, it shows itself clearly in daily situations, even in the smallest details. And it is precisely in those moments that we see the great value of knowing how to pause, observe, and choose a mindful response. Let us begin with an example from work. A wife waits for a message from her husband, letting her know he will be late. That day, he was caught up in meetings and forgot to text. She waits, growing more irritated, her mind filling with negative thoughts. He doesn't care anymore. He's deliberately ignoring me. If she reacts immediately when he gets home, the conversation may quickly turn into harsh reproach. But if she pauses, takes a deep breath, and asks herself, could there be another reason for this silence? Then she might open with calm words. I waited and felt a bit worried. Next time, please just let me know. Such a response avoids conflict and helps her husband become more mindful of showing care. Another example comes from the road. A couple is riding together when another driver cuts into their lane. The passenger grows angry, ready to shout, but the driver simply gives a wry smile, shakes his head, and drives on. In that moment, the driver's calmness extinguishes the passenger's anger. In love, this attitude of non-reaction becomes a reminder. Peace matters more than winning a roadside argument. And both arrive home with light hearts instead of carrying frustration. In family life, this is even clearer. Many couples argue over small chores like washing dishes, cleaning, or money. One says, "You never help with anything," prompting the other to retort, "You always criticize." A simple matter turns into a deeper conflict. But if one chooses to pause rather than react, they could instead say, "I'm tired, but I'll try to help so it's easier for both of us." With just a change of words, anger dissolves and understanding takes its place. On social media, this lesson is just as important. A girl posts a picture, and someone leaves a negative comment. Her boyfriend sees it and grows angry, ready to lash out in her defense. But then he pauses and asks, is this reaction really necessary? Will it make her any happier? Finally, he chooses a simple reassurance. Don't mind it, you're still beautiful in my eyes. A rash reaction might have created more tension, but calmness turned an unpleasant situation into a warm moment. These examples show that non-reaction is not a lofty philosophy, but a concrete action in daily life. The question is, how can we practice it every day? That is where practical tools come in. The first tool is the Stoic journal. Each night before bed, write down 3 situations from the day when you felt the urge to react strongly. Then ask yourself, if I had been calmer, what could I have done differently? Writing things down helps us reflect, and over time, our capacity for control improves. The second tool is meditation and mindfulness. Just a few minutes each day sitting still, focusing on the breath, watching thoughts come and go without clinging to them, trains us to observe emotions rather than be carried away by them. In love, this is invaluable, since emotions arise so quickly, and without the habit of observation, we react instantly. The third tool is premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of adversity. The Stoics often practiced imagining possible hardships so they would not be overwhelmed by sudden fear. In love, this can mean preparing ourselves with the thought, someday my partner may be busy, distracted, or make mistakes. With this preparation, we remain calmer when such things happen. Instead of reacting harshly, we may simply smile and remind each other. The fourth tool is the Stoic reminder. Write a short phrase and place it on your desk or phone screen. For example, "My emotions are mine. No one can touch them without my permission." Each time you see it, you recall your greatest freedom, the freedom to choose your response. These tools are not mere tips, but ways of turning philosophy into habit. With consistent practice, you will notice real change. Less anger, less hurt, more understanding, more love. Most importantly, you will realize that love is no longer the place where you lose control, but the place that nurtures your growth. When we apply non-reaction to everyday situations, we not only preserve love, but also preserve ourselves. Small examples, simple tools practiced with patience, help us build a love that is peaceful, enduring, and trustworthy. And then, when storms come, instead of reacting impulsively, we can smile, breathe deeply, and choose to love with wisdom. Chapter 7. Conclusion. A motivational message in love. Love is a beautiful journey, yet also full of challenges. It brings happiness, but at the same time touches the most fragile parts of our being. We love, and then we easily let our emotions depend on every gesture, every word, even every glance of another. A scene without reply, a forgotten anniversary, a passing smile at someone else, can be enough to stir the heart, to worry it, even to wound it. If love is not guided by maturity, it can quickly become a wave that sweeps away our peace. This is why Stoic philosophy is so precious. It does not teach us to be emotionless or to run away, but to love with clarity. Non-reaction in love is holding on to the right to choose, the right to master ourselves, the right not to let fleeting impulses destroy what we have patiently built. When we learn to pause, to breathe, to observe, and then respond, love ceases to be a battlefield of egos and becomes a home of maturity and trust. Remember this: reaction is instinct, but non-reaction is strength. Anyone can grow angry, anyone can reproach, but not everyone dares to restrain themselves, to listen, to choose words mindfully. That difference determines whether a relationship fractures or is strengthened. When we resist an impulsive reaction, we preserve our peace. We are no longer boats drifting helplessly on emotional storms, but steady hands on the helm. When we refuse to react hastily, we protect our mental energy, reserving it for love and sharing. When we resist reacting with anger, we create safety for our partner, giving them confidence to open their heart more fully. And when we withhold reaction in rage, we preserve dignity and respect from our partner and from ourselves. Mature love does not lie in grand promises, but in the ability to walk calmly through conflict together. Young love may shatter easily under small reactions, but mature love endures because both know how to pause, to choose, and what matters more than ego. Non-reaction does not make love cold. On the contrary, it deepens it, proving that we value the relationship more than winning. And remember, practicing non-reaction is a long journey. It requires patience, like planting a tree. Today, we plant seeds by recognizing emotions. Tomorrow, we water them with golden pauses. Over time, the tree grows tall, casting shade and peace for both. Every small step, every moment of successful restraint becomes a brick in building a lasting love. At times, you may wonder, if I don't react, will they look down on me? But the truth is, people do not respect impulsive reactions, they respect calmness. People are not frightened by harsh words, they are frightened of losing safety. And safety comes only with composure. The most beautiful love is not one without conflict, but one that knows how to walk through conflict without breaking. The Stoics left us the key. Remember that emotions are temporary, but the consequences of reactions can last forever. So do not rush to let emotions rule you. Let clarity lead the way. The final message for you is this: hold on to your freedom in love. Freedom is not freedom from feeling, but freedom from blind enslavement to feeling. Freedom is not coldness, but loving with awareness. Freedom is not avoidance, but facing with peace. When you hold that freedom, love becomes a place of nourishment, no longer a place of harm. Start today, with the smallest things. When you feel anger, pause for a few seconds. When jealousy arises, name the emotion. When reproach is on your lips, ask, is this worth losing peace over? And when you choose calmness over explosion, you give love a chance to go farther, to endure longer. Non-reaction not only saves relationships, it saves your heart. It not only makes you a better lover, but it also makes you a better version of yourself. And that is the deepest meaning of love. To grow together, to learn self-mastery together, so that love is not just a fleeting emotion, but a long journey of understanding and peace.